Hey, how's it going? Hi, so I've been inconsistent, inconsistently showing up to do this, and I apologize for that. Just, stuff going on this side of the screen that's made me not want to bring whatever I had to say here, feeling the way I was feeling. So, I guess I'm at a plateau in feeling of the feelings, and I can bring this to you. Um, I Speaking of the discomfort, oh, let me interrupt myself to say this is a show from 2001, but as always, there's always spoilers when I do my little discussions. So, that out of the way, um, I was, you know, feeling out of sorts, and I believe it was the day after the findings in the Breonna Taylor case of the policeman's guilt as to shooting her, and the to the best of my understanding, there was more concern for the state of the building. Like, had the stray bullets gone through the neighbor's wall, I'm just gonna assume her neighbors were also black, and hit one of them and killed or injured them, you know, would they have gotten any more attention for the negligence that occurred there? I'm going to say no, because it seems like the building was of more importance. And the building, I'm sure, is insured. So there's no, I mean, the injury to the building is temporary and can be repaired. Breonna Taylor's life cannot be repaired. It's done. And it's just so incredibly callous that I just, was not feeling great because I'm just waiting for that breakthrough day where the change is that, responsibilities are taken and all people fall under the law the same way, regardless of anything, you know. Everyone should come to the table like the way they were born, you know, with nothing. Please have clothes on, but other than that, with nothing. And so it's just you and the way you acted and how the way those acts were affecting you under the law. It should be the same for everyone. Like if you kill someone, then there's slight changes of circumstance, but you still killed someone. If it can, un, undeniably be attached to you through evidence and investigation, then you did the crime, do the time. I mean, everyone else is expected to do it. There should be no exceptions. Okay. Didn't mean to go on that long about that, but anyway. So, already wasn't feeling great, after, just sort of in the wake of the news about Breonna Taylor's case. And then I learned about other cases that were not in the news that I was aware of until right that day when, like, three more dead people from, prior time, I guess. Some of them from like a couple of years ago, even, that just were under the radar. And I gotta tell you, I don't go searching that out. Like, I know that it happens way more than it's reported. And so it doesn't feel good to see, you know, people ending up dead through the hands of the people they're supposed to be the protectors of the other people under the law, you know, just executing people like they've been doing and getting away with. So, that just added to the not great feelings, and I wanted to do what is of comfort to me, and that is usually turn on something or read something or, you know, find something else to occupy my mind that is calming and relaxing. And usually that involves watching television for me. And that day, there happened to be Law and Order marathon on. And I like the Law and Order, especially, just you notice there's no additions to the Law and Order title. And I like particularly the ones that have uh, Sam Waterston playing Jack McCoy. And I know that in light of like everything that's happening that's upsetting, it directly has to do with interacting with the law, that I should find this comforting. I get that it's strange. I don't understand it, but it's the case. And I don't even really know why. Like, was it a time that was particularly special when these shows came out? It would have been over like a, I don't know, like 10, 15 year period, I think. So I would have, maybe been working at night and not been able to catch the show, or, I didn't have a VCR. Like, whatever the thing was that I didn't end up watching it, it was over such a long period that I can't really pinpoint. I don't know. It's just like maybe a routine thing, or like I said, like it's comforting to me to watch some television. And so I was like, okay, I didn't like even go into like why of it at the time. This is like all stuff I've thought about subsequently because I'm doing this. Um, but anyway, I like the shows. Like one of my favorite things. I guess I like that you kind of get to an idea of the meat in the sausage kind of thing, and sort of the operations. And I know it's fictionalized and that it's fiction. I realize that. It's all sort of uh, paraphrased, telephrased, if you will. And so the episode that first came up was one that's called Prejudice. And the main character, played by Stephen Richard, is a guy named Ray Burroughs. And he has a problem with black people, like, really pronounced problem. Enough so that he, in a lot of situations, feels comfortable just dropping the N word all over the place and in the face of whomever. And it's just kind of like, I guess, tolerated when it's one of those, you look at the other white people who are mostly in these situations, in my experience, visibly uncomfortable. Like, they might go along with everything he's saying and everything he is, but not when there's an actual black person in the room there. Like, then they feel a sense of needing to pause for a moment and like not do that because they know it's not cool. I'll just leave it at that. There's a lot more to it than that, but I'll just leave it at that. And so this is the guy's kind of way of life, but he also blames them for a lot, and he doesn't take his own behavior in these situations into consideration. It doesn't seem like very much at all. Like, he, assumes that just being uncomfortable and exposing your, you know, hatred of a certain race of people in front of everybody else, and just assuming that it's going to be okay with everybody, including the person you're hurling epithets at, and not getting that it's not really that okay for like anybody involved except you think yourself. And so, this comes up in his life, his fictionalized life on the show, where he lives in one of those co-op buildings, which is something I have no personal experience of. But the idea of so many people approving so many things about where I live, well, I kind of live like that now because I live in, well, the place I live in is very intrusive. Like, yeah. So it's uncomfortable. I would rather it not be the case, but that's the way things are for me right now at the moment. So maybe it is kind of similar. But he wanted to disapprove of a couple that wanted to move in that happened to be biracial, and they weren't shown this couple. Like this was all just something that was discussed. But I'm gonna go with a black and white couple. Since he's so upset with black people and he's white and it's like a thing with him, and he's overruled, so that pisses him off. He has a job somewhere where he has accounts. It's like some sort of business. I It's not important what the business is. It's just that he handled various accounts, and so he had an account, and it happened to be with a black company person, representative, and so well, the black representative, and so he was like condescending and insulting and to this character, or to this account holder, and he's the person, I guess, spoke with his supervisor, and the supervisor was like, oh my goodness, well, we'll have to totally get you a different agent to work with, and they put him with a black agent who ends up being a witness when the trial happens. And I'm just going to digress for a second here about this because, you have this client, and then you have this employee, and you obviously know this employee has this racial tick, and it's not like great for your business. And so you want to placate your client and make them happy and soothe any feelings of recrimination, or anything that could be construed as negative to the company. Obviously, in this case, is what matters the most. And so they take this black guy, client representative, and then puts him with another agent, which is good, but the agent is black. It's like that. Like, if that was the case with me in real life, and in thinking about it in terms of this show, that's kind of irritating. Like, nobody asked you to put us with our daddy or our big brother or whatever it is you're thinking. The guy just wanted a competent agent, I'm sure. Even it's a fictional person, but I can totally relate to this in some sort of actual setting. And like, no, that's not what racial equality is about. It's like, don't make a thing of it. Like, just get a person that can do the job. That's what I know I would want. Like, I don't even want to have to think about what I'm talking about. Like, and you shouldn't be either. Like, just give us another person that's not an insulting jerk. And that could be the end of it. So, to get back to the character whose name is Ray Burroughs, Ray just, this is just not acceptable. And that's putting it mildly. I mean, he flips the flip out, and has the words to say, and so I'm just letting that like sink in so it can marry with what I'm saying, what I've said before. Like, this guy is tick, 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 right? He's like a time bomb. So the other thing, the last thing that gets him in trouble, that gets him to be the defendant in this case on the show, is that he loses his cab that he called to a black CEO. And let me just make another quick aside here. From what I've heard in New York, like, it's hard for black people to get a cab, and obviously Ray Burroughs is not going to give a crap about that. But the viewer, I mean, this viewer, I've never been to New York, but it's a pretty well-known meme that black people have a hard time hailing cabs. And so at night, being where they were, which was an office building, I mean, from what I've heard, there's times when the cabs would just, oh, it's a black dude, just keep on going, regardless of the expensive area. So, but, and that didn't happen. He ended up like being able to swoop in and take the cab. And this is like the straw that breaks the camel's back for this guy. And he ends up, I guess, in the cab with a buddy. They get another cab right behind him, and the buddy is going, "Look, just let it go, leave it alone." And they follow uh, the guy in the cab that got taken, the black guy. They follow this CEO that had stolen Mr. Burroughs' cab, and so I guess he finds out where he lives and comes back later and kills him. And he is like so cuckoo with like righteous, he thinks, anger over this, that it's okay to go kill this guy. Like I said, tick tick tick, he was just a murder waiting to happen, at least a murder. And so that's what it's contained to in this story, because it's Columbine may have happened by the time this show came out in 2001, but I'm not going to go look it up. uh, you know, Even if it didn't, you could see it as a. I just am forgetting all what I'm saying. I don't know what influence mass shootings would have had at the time. Was what I was trying to get at. So, yeah, I mean, he thinks that he's right, and he's not listening to his lawyers tell him, like, stop talking because you're just making it worse and making all kinds of declarations that can be used against you once we get into court, and which is, of course, what happens. And the guy is just sort of the Ray Burroughs character is just sort of a little, I don't know how to term it. I would say microcosm, but it's okay. Well, I'll just go with microcosm of kind of everything that's like rising up from piles of human ideals, I guess, ideologies, I guess, feelings, sense of group, sense of camaraderie, sense of belonging. Um, it's like everyone is, not everyone, but there is a lot of like people expressing like, I feel this way. I want things to be this way, and other people saying, "No, I don't want that. I don't want you to have what you want." And I think that's like the tone that I feel may not be being articulated, and that is that people want things. People feel like they've been denied things. People feel like they've been treated a certain way, and to a degree, coming from the person on the one side, I do have this view, so I have to look through that filter and have to be like clear that that's the filter that I see through. And then there's this other side where everything has to be controlled. You can't do this and you can't do that. But it's like, from my point of view, it's like, well, wait. You people that don't want people to do stuff, and and you don't want them to do it for certain reasons, you leave little loopholes for yourselves to go on doing the things you don't want us to be able to do. Like, you want it to be a crime for us, but it's okay if you do the crime if you are the right complexion or income bracket or cultural whatever thing that you feel is superior to the people that you. It's like, these people want things, but they want everybody to have the things. These people want to have things, but they only want certain people to be able to have things, and they want to be able to control who has the things and who can say who has the things and who can say anything. And it's like, no. The suppression and the canceling and all of the lumping together and making enemies or bad people of, or, the whipping boy. Like, these people that want to control that, I feel like being on this side, I don't want them to have total, complete control over anybody. I want that to be something everybody has a say in. um, and that's a lot of the discussion, I think, right now about the defunding the police. Like, that was an unfortunate turn of phrase to use for it, because now it's been sort of torqued into this whole other right leaning way of seeing it, like the alternative facts thing. And we got to get our facts straight. Like, we all got to get on the same page, and that would be, in my opinion, incredibly healing for us to do. So, let's see. Oh, yeah. The president that we have right now now has COVID, just saying. He is always talking about law and order, and, you know, in the context of the show, it's very controlled, it's not too offensive. It's kind of funny to see Lenny Briscoe. I mean, he is like one of my favorite characters from that show, but on the rare occasions where he has to like deal with a tough customer, Skell, it's so funny to see when they have him like, he was running, but what he did was take 2 steps, and the criminal basically has to run right into his hands, but not too hard because you don't want to knock over the old guy and break his hip. I'm sorry, but those are the thoughts that they have, and I have a hip replacement. Don't ask. Maybe one day when I think someone cares, I'll talk about that. But yeah, but then the stuff that he says, being the tough guy cop, it's very like, I don't know. I know his background is in stage, so it's kind of like that sort of high emotion, almost camp, elevation of emoting. I don't know. I guess I'm saying it's not believable that he's this cop. Like, his hair's dyed from silver to brown. Sorry. Back to what I was saying. Yeah, the Law and Order, though, I mean, like I said at the beginning, or I don't know, was I just talking to myself before I turned the camera on? Oh, no. Well, I'll revisit the thought. I think the law should apply equally to everyone. Like, I don't care if you're a law enforcement officer. If you do something that's illegal for everyone else to do, it shouldn't be legal for you to go ahead still being a law enforcement officer if it's something that, like, that doesn't preclude you from being guilty. It shouldn't be that hard. It used to be easier. It's this qualified immunity business, and these strong unions that, they're out there advocating for police for things the unions were never intended to do. And I think that it's like a separation of union and state needs to happen there, because there's zealots and there's groups that are criminal outside of law enforcement, that are in little cluster cells in law enforcement, and that's a sickness. That's just like a disease happens, to my understanding. I'm not a medical professional, but I am a professional patient. Let me consult my notes here. See, oh wait, I do not think it's a good thing to be looking up someone's nose when they're filming, so I'm just gonna obscure the nose. Yeah. So, okay, I guess the reason why this really stuck to me is just that it seemed to just appear, wrapped up in a little virtual package. Like, here you go. It's the thing you should talk about now. Okay, so took me a while to get to it, but here it is. Is that it? That might be it. It's just that it's just funny that this particular topic in this particular way is what bubbled up to for me to watch first thing after feeling all those bad feels about you know police on black people, extrajudicial murder, basically, and how. Oh, there was something I was forgetting. They're speaking of a separation between state and law. Is that what I said before? Well, let me just, if I didn't, let me modify it for this statement. Another thing that makes it very difficult, and this is illustrated in the show, but not in the way that I'm talking about. But I did find it interesting to be able to have that to look at, is the chumminess, the clanniness with a C between police and like the prosecutor and the district attorney's office. It's there. Like on the show, they know, they're pretty familiar with the other groups' lives and the police that they deal with on a regular basis, the attorneys and the police. They know, what's going on with their health, and there's just all these interactions that they have business meals together apparently, and they're sort of hand in hand in the investigation even, and like that should not be the case. Like they should be as far away from each other as any other investigation people that are not a part of the actual investigation. Like they're part of the stuff that happens after the investigation, and but they're mixed up all in it in the show, and it kind of feels like that's the case in reality too. Except in reality, we need to stop. We need to put a stop to that. Like there can't be this closeness. It's like nepotism, but it's worse. It's definitely, favoritism has to play into it. Like you care about these people, so what will you do for the people you care about? Will you tell a little fib? Will you obscure evidence? There's shows on order about all of those things too, but I'm just talking about this one, and I think I'm done talking about it. Those were the points I wanted to make. Thank you for listening if you did, and thank you and good night.